Hi, welcome to our channel True Up. The People's Republic of China was established in 1949. However, the country is still in its infancy after the war, and many things remain unfinished, making it impossible to even create the most basic daily essentials. At the period, iron nails were referred to as Western nails, matches as Western matches, and bicycles as Western horses. However, it is this country that produced missiles in 11 years, launched satellites into space 20 years later, and then rose to prominence as a significant space power more than 70 years later. Today, China is probably one of the most powerful challengers in the space program. So, how did children go from being a poor child to a space power? How did China become one of the main countries capable of competing with the world's largest players in space? What setbacks has China faced in its aeronautical development? That is exactly what we will be discussing in today's video. When Russia and the United States were at odds about who would be the master of space, it appears that China had nothing to do with it. Today, however, China is the true space power, since they are launching rockets with a reasonably high success rate. How did they able to accomplish such a feat in such a short period of time? One of the veteran specialists stated at one of the aerospace technical seminars, "Because scientific research must be quiet and clean, our age rarely smokes. If the foundation is weak, the mountains will tremble." The attitude towards scientific inquiry should be like walking on a tightrope, skirting around the verge of an abyss. Space activities are extremely dangerous. Early Chinese rockets lacked escape mechanisms on their launch towers. When we launched satellites for the Americans, American specialists refused to go up, citing the risk of an accident. "There is no way back," the Chinese engineer said. In truth, China Aerospace has long faced blockades and oppression, and has fought against each other day after day for decades. Premier Zhou Enlai famously said of China Aerospace, "Be serious, attentive, sensitive, thorough, trustworthy, and then be totally safe." In terms of China's aircraft sector, in addition to having nowhere to retreat, there is frequently nothing to go. So, when it comes to autonomous invention, it boils down to, "I control my own fate. When others fail to provide a path for you, we shall forge our own." According to President Mao, China's missile and atomic weapon successes are due to Khrushchev's assistance. His choice to fire specialists encourages us to go our own route. He deserves a prize. China's yesterday is engraved in human history, and China's now is being produced by hundreds of millions of Chinese people, ensuring that China has an even better future. After studying about China's space mentality, how has modern China achieved a seat in space? Do you know conflicts in space occur more easily than we think? Recently, Musk's action has sparked a commotion and drew harsh condemnation from Chinese social media users. Some Chinese netizens branded the Starlink satellites as simply a pile of space rubbish, while others classified them as U.S. space war weapons. In truth, drunken lunatics rampaging across space have been plaguing the Earth for a long time. According to data, Starlink has been engaged in around 1,600 comparable accidents, accounting for half of all spacecraft unintentional approach incidents. Behind these hazards lurks a more significant issue. As more and more Starlink launches become practically uncontrolled, low Earth orbits will be inhabited by more Starlink satellites, and similar rambling tendencies will undoubtedly rise. Space belongs to all humans and is not Musk's private domain for profit. China decided that the best way to counter with the U.S. training plan was to develop its own worldwide satellite communication network. Thus it offered the Hongyan constellation proposal. The Hongyan constellation, like the U.S. Starlink, is a worldwide satellite communication network. It is made up of hundreds of satellites. It is made up of low Earth orbit satellites. It can give mobile internet connections to users anywhere in the world, with just a particular satellite signal receiving gear required. So far, China has successfully launched the first set of test satellites for the Hongyan constellation, which are already in orbit. China has done several tests on them, demonstrating that this technology is quite powerful. It will take 10 years to finish. Western nations are interested because China's Hongyan constellation can not only provide mobile internet connections, but it also has a unique edge in that it can give 6G communications signal coverage straight from space to the ground in the future. Although the US Starlink may achieve the same thing, its ground users must carry an extra satellite receiving gear. In the early days of China's Hongyan constellation, this was also required. However, after China develops 6G communication technology, it will be able to produce 6G communication base stations that can be mounted on satellites. As a result, the Hongyan satellite can broadcast 6G communications from orbit to the Earth. As a result, the Hongyan constellation will be significantly more powerful than the American Starlink system. In other words, once the Hongyan constellation has such capabilities, China will establish a satellite communication system capable of providing ground users with mobile internet connections at any time and from any location, considerably beyond the capabilities of Starlink in the United States. As we all know, China's Beidou satellite navigation system has surpassed the US GPS to become the world's second biggest navigation system. The period of the US GPS monopoly on the worldwide satellite navigation business came to an end after China finished the Beidou satellite navigation system network. Many countries declared plans to link to China's Beidou satellite network, thereby seizing a sizable GPS offshore market. China has also become the only country in the world capable of competing with the United States in the aerospace sector. A country that has achieved the top level in the field. As a result, American policymakers have exaggerated the space danger hypothesis, and the primary reason is that they are concerned that China would usurp their space dominion. It is clear that by establishing the Beidou satellite navigation system, China not only hastened the progress bar while connecting the Hongyan constellation, but also grew more skillful. The Hongyan constellation has sparked widespread interest because, if finished on schedule, it will be the most comprehensive satellite network system in existence. Based on existing Sino-US ties, if the US takes the lead in creating 6G, the scenario in the sphere of communications may be anticipated. Of course, this is not made up, because the US Starlink plan requires 12,000 satellites, and may eventually reach 42,000 satellites, despite the fact that the range that can be used to launch satellites and form Starlink is quite large. However, with such a large number, it will inevitably occupy a lot of satellite frequencies and low Earth orbits. After the completion of the US Starlink program, other countries are unlikely to have low Earth orbits for satellite launches. As a result, rather than launching satellites after being impacted by the Starlink plan, it is preferable to be the first to launch satellites into low Earth orbit in advance, just to break the enclosure action launched by the US with satellites. Thanks for watching our video. We would appreciate it if you subscribed our channel and gave us a thumb. See you.